All right, so Redux, episode 12. I'm having a lot of trouble making this video because it's really complicated. Let me try to explain Redux to you guys. So I followed along a video by DevEd. It's a tutorial for Redux. Pretty short, 40-minute tutorial, really well explained, and basically all I have is what he did in there, so don't think that I'm copying or anything like that. I'm just trying to explain what I learned in the video, and really I don't have a use for Redux in my site currently, but I wanted to set it up because it's really complicated to set up and piece everything together and import the right stuff. But I figured once it's set up, it didn't look too bad. It's very similar to Reframe that I used at my last job for state management. So let's get into it because I'm probably going to mess this take up and have to do another one. So Redux is state management, as I said. Basically, what that means is it's kind of like a back end and a bunch of functions that you can use on the back end to manipulate it. And yeah, so it's kind of storing values and storing functions to manipulate those values. I think that's a good explanation, actually. And it has four aspects. So one is store, we could see here. And store is basically the global storage for your application. It's your backend. I use that term loosely because if you were to refresh your application, anything that you changed to your store goes back to whatever the default is because there's no server running here. Sorry, I had an alarm go off. So we have store, and that's your global storage. And in order for your entire app to use the global storage, you use this provider tag from React Redux library, and then you give it the store value there. Pretty simple. So now you have access to your global storage on any component in your app. So yeah, and what you do to make a storage is you give it a list of reducers. And in my case, I have combined all of the reducers into a root reducer, which is found here. So it's basically just to clean up this file so it's not filled with imports and everything. A really complicated website or application would have a ton of functions here. So yeah, this just combines them all, and it's just a good place to kind of dump all the imports and everything. It's essentially what this file is made for. But what an actual reducer looks like, we'll go to counter here, the counter reducer. So what it is a function with two arguments. One is a state variable, and then the other is an action. And action is the third aspect of Redux, and that's basically it's kind of like an event that's happening in the application. And then based on what type of event or action, the application will do something. So let's say I press a button, hint, hint, that's what I'm going to show you, and I want a number to go up by 1, then I will, say increment, and then any reducer. I'm pretty sure, I'm not entirely sure about this, but like I have another reducer for signing in. I could maybe put like case increment here, and then two things could happen simultaneously if I press that button. But I'm not going to do that. So yeah, increment, decrement, and then if the action that's happening is neither, we're going to remain the same. So it's pretty much just like event handling in a way. It's manipulating. It can be used to manipulate the DOM, and it can also be used to manipulate the global storage. So this counter function only has access to this state variable. So 1 is pretty arbitrary. This could be like, what I'm thinking I'm going to be doing for my site is having this be a list of the most recent tweets or videos, like an API call that I do. So this way, every time the page is loaded, the APIs are up to date and I don't need a backend. All I need to do is just contact those APIs and get the information I need. Because, yeah, I might do like a blog where I write stuff out. And I'm not sure how that is going to work, but we'll get to that when we get to that. That's how I'm thinking like the API calls are going to work. This value will be an object from an API call, and then we can manipulate it however. Jumping a bit ahead here. But yeah, action files are really, I mean, it's just like, they're just functions. So yeah, let's say we want to increment. It's an increment function. These are really simple. Yeah, I don't know much else to say. It's basically just you're kind of determining, you're basically listing all the different types of events that can happen on your site through actions. And then you're using those in the fourth layer or aspect here, dispatch. So that's actually calling the action to action and then using the reducer and changing the state and updating the store, and boom, you have a new value on your site in the back end, or maybe it'll show up on the DOM or something. But yeah, so this is just using the global state here. So the state, remember, is this, or this. It's the root reducer. And then we're getting the counter reducer aspect, or data field, or data property. I forgot what it's called, but we're basically getting this counter reducer because we're not doing any logging in on the Twitch page or whatever. We're only incrementing and decrementing a value here. So this is the value. We're just getting that value from the reducer. And then dispatch is just this function to put the action to work, or to say this event is happening on the website, do something. That's basically it. So let's show it in action. I've talked long enough. Here, let me change that real quick before I show you. Boom. Okay, so here's my website. We're on the Twitch page, so that's just, as you can see, there's no state here, so we can get the state on any page. Let me move OBS. And then all that piecing together and, setting up actions and reducers and combining them and, what was it, like providing the state and all of that for this. So you can see why Dev Ed says that this is just very overly complicated for a single page, just not a single page application, but a very basic, simple application. It's not really necessary. So all that work, and I don't need to do all that. A lot of that is just initial setup. And now it's kind of just creating reducers and actions and then dispatching them when I need to. But yeah, all of that to make a number go up and down by 1. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, this is that dev tool thing. We have Redux here. So yeah, you can see all the events or actions that are happening. And then you can even play it from the start, so you can see your web page changing. You can see the values, what they were, and everything like that. So it's just a really, really, really useful tool to have. And then you can see what the current state is. You can I guess make it go up. Can't see here. Oh, you can't see it anyways. You can make it go faster if you wanted to, but yeah. Redux. Really complicated, but you know what? This is just what I need to learn, because short story, at my last job, I was basically the work that I did on the website was my training, and it had a deadline. And I had never worked with a framework before. I had never worked with a programming language before. Basically, what they said is you have X amount of time to finish this website, and if you don't think that you can do that, then let us know, and, I guess that's it. And if you feel like you can get that done, and we need to have something to show by the end of X amount of time, there you go. So why I'm saying this story is you don't want to be learning Redux or some complicated state management thing that you've never seen before when you get hired. You want to know it before you get hired, ideally. This way you don't have the stress of maybe meeting a deadline and learning something totally different and complicated. Yeah, so that is pretty much it. I've been there. It was stressful. I remember learning state management. It took me like 3 days of work to figure it out and kind of just like ask a bunch of questions to understand where I needed to go. And then once I knew what I needed to do, it took me, I remember I spent 10 hours one day, 10 hours straight. It was my longest work day yet. And it was 10 hours of figuring out state management for Reframe. And I'm happy I did it, because this makes a hell of a lot more sense, but it's still not, I'm still not quite there yet. So, yeah, that's it for this video. Now that I have everything set up that I need, it's kind of just API calls and styling the website now and really doing the front end stuff. So, yay! I hope you enjoyed Redux, and I hope you use it if you're planning on getting into potential front-end developer work or full-stack developer work. You'll probably run into Redux. React is one of the most popular frameworks, so yeah. Don't be like me, know your shit before you get the job. Of course, getting paid to learn is pretty nice too. So take your pick. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.